Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Amplify Your Business. Today's guest is Rhett Bagnall over at Specialized Benefits. He's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the trends and things that small businesses should be thinking about in terms of benefits and insurance, because there's a lot of change has happened over the last 6 months, and the benefit/insurance side of things is no different than anything else. We have to really be on top of it because there's some pivoting that could be happening there that's going to impact your bottom line. Another thing that we're going to talk about, and this is probably going to be one of my favorite episodes for this reason, and that is Rhett has been experimenting with doing some working remotely, so traveling to some exotic locations and doing some great things from there with his business while having his team here implement stuff. And so I know a lot of you are thinking, hey, with this work from home environment that we're in, we're basically saddled from these offices. We can disconnect or connect remotely from anywhere in the world. Why are we doing it in the winter months from Edmonton? And so Rhett's going to share with us some experiences that he's had, and we'll talk about some of the benefits, some of the challenges, some of the fears, some of the risks that go along with some of that as well. So with no further ado, I guess, Rhett, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Lance.
Yeah, glad that you took some time out of your busy schedule to drop by and say hi. Now, tell me a little bit about Specialized Benefits. What is it that you do there?
In short, we're an insurance brokerage focusing primarily on benefits, health and dental programs. Is usually where the first conversation occurs with a lot of our clients, whether it's for an individual, a sole proprietor, solopreneur, or else perhaps someone that is retired and they're coming off of that employer's group plan. But we also do work with a lot of companies that do have, whether it's generally we're in that, say, 20 or less kind of space in terms of employees. Your mom and pop small business type arena, we find that not a lot of it's an unserviced market, definitely. And as a broker, we work with a number of major carriers and shop around to make sure that our clients are getting the best plan for their dollar, or their best value for the plan design and for what they're paying, and that the staff are ultimately happy with the plan as well too. So been at it now for 18 years, 19 years. So
yeah,
and
you've seen it all.
Yeah, every year gets gooder and gooder.
So, and full disclosure, so everybody knows, I actually, through Amplomedia, we have our benefit program with Specialized Benefits. So they're managing that, as well as I have some insurance programs too that I'm running through Rhett. And so really appreciate the attention to detail and the exceptional service actually that Specialized Benefits provides. And so we've had experiences with other benefit plans or brokers in the past, and definitely the bar is super high when it comes to the service side of things. Rhett's always looking at and analyzing our coverage and our usage and so on, and making suggestions each year prior to our renewal dates to help us get into something that's going to make more sense for us. And so he doesn't just kind of set it and forget it. He is definitely actively working on it, and he's built a great team over there at Specialized Benefits. So thank you for helping us with that, Rhett, and thanks for explaining a little bit about what you do. Now, in terms of the benefit space, there's a lot of businesses nowadays who are really looking at the bottom line, right? They're looking at the numbers and they're going, okay, from a cash flow standpoint, COVID has impacted us in some ways, or for some businesses really drastically, other ones maybe not so drastically. Maybe COVID has actually created an opportunity for growth in some situations. But in general, I think we're all, as small businesses, looking at the bottom line, looking at our expenditure column, and trying to make sure that we're spending money where we are getting our best bang for our buck. In terms of benefits, what trends are you seeing out there? What are other small businesses looking at right now? Are they looking at adding or changing up their benefits that maybe will save them a few dollars and become a little bit more effective and useful for their workforce? Is there any trends to speak to?
I think it's an ongoing conversation. just any time the world kind of gets turned upside down. I mean, this is for us here in Alberta, this is the third sort of disruption, recession, whatever you want to call it, that I've experienced in my career. And I do know from experience that, yeah, the conversation can go either way. I mean, yes, you're right. A lot of people are looking at, you know, where can I save some money? And sometimes cutting off benefits or reducing your benefits ends up blowing up in your face, because it is supposed to be a sort of a reward or a thank you to your staff. In terms of, we want you to be healthy. We want you to, if you're hurt or sore, we want you to be able to go for a massage or a physio treatment, so that we're not losing you from work, and being able to maintain that staff. I think that the big cost to consider is turnover. And when you're comparing the costs of turnover versus the costs of a benefit program, it doesn't take very long for the benefit plan to pay for itself, really. So, I mean, one trend definitely, though, over the last 18 years is in the paramedical world, where massages and chiro and physio and other sorts of services, you see more and more of these providers at this time of the year, especially, doing the old use them or lose them kind of marketing, which I can't say as I blame them, because, yeah, that's how they make money and put food on the table and things like that. But it definitely has created a little bit of an entitlement mentality amongst the staff, because then they think, well, I get these benefits, I better go and use them. And then when I show up 4 or 5 months later with the renewal and say, oh, sorry, premiums are going up 20%, because you guys went and used the therapist's a whole bunch, it just creates a real, it's sometimes a difficult conversation where you have to educate people that this is a benefits plan. It is not an entitlement plan. Yeah. Again, going back to that, if you're hurt, okay, use it, but don't just go, don't just go for 5 massages in December, because you're going to lose your benefits at the end of December, or they're going to reset to zero at the end of the month, kind of thing. So, yeah, definitely that's one trend that I've seen, and it has put the onus, especially on guys like myself in our industry, to work with the owners, to work with the staff, to have them sort of take ownership and educate them on, the pros and cons of these. But it's also created other opportunities in terms of the plan design. Maybe we're talking about hybrid programs where you get a little bit of insurance over here for those unexpected kind of events, but maybe you're getting a slush account or a health spending account.
Yeah, no, the health spending account is something that you mentioned, actually, as our renew is actually coming up here right away. So that was something that you brought up. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the health spending account works versus a traditional benefits plan?
Yeah, well, and for those that are familiar with benefit plans, you get your booklet and it says, okay, you get X% for this and X% for that, up to so many dollars for dental and so many dollars for massages and chiro and physio, and maybe glasses are in there or whatnot. And so if you use, if you max those out, then yeah, you're probably, getting a massive return on the premiums that you've paid, but it can create that uncomfortable situation down the road for the rest of the group, especially in smaller groups, when we're talking about the 20 or less kind of groups. But so a health spending account is the owner just provides basically a bank account, so to speak, of up to X number of dollars, and you can have various different categories, whether it's one category for your full-time staff, another for your managers, and maybe another for your executives. And they can use those dollars in whatever capacity they want. So if Johnny needs braces, well, you can use it for the braces maybe that year, but the following year, we need, I got hurt at beer league hockey. I need extra physio therapy or something like that. So maybe the $500 or whatever that's provided by the plan isn't enough. But if, say, you have an extra $500 or $1,000 in this health spending account, then then you can use it for that. From the employer's perspective, it does help mitigate your costs a little bit because on the insurance side of things, the insurance companies, for every dollar that you pay in premium, they generally don't want to be paying out much more than 75 cents, 80 cents on the dollar, depending upon the company and the size of the group and things like that. So the health spending account really is because typically the insurance companies only charge an administration fee. So from a markup standpoint, when you're talking $1 and only 75 cents, you're looking at about a quick math here. I want to say 35% markup on the cost. Whereas in a health spending account, typically you're going to be somewhere around the 10% fee that the insurers will charge just to administrate the claims and adjudicate them and make sure that everything is above board with CRA. So again, from a cost perspective, for the owner, it can help you contain those costs a little bit, and you're not getting hit with such a high markup on that. So that's where sometimes a hybrid is a great little alternative where you can scale back the insurance side of the plan, but give everyone their own little bank account, and again, the ownership goes back to the staff, and they get to manage their plan a little bit more.
Yeah, I like the idea of that flexibility because the challenge, especially with smaller workforces like mine, there's so much variability in what people's needs are, where we don't have enough people to have this average kind of person, right? So we have somebody that maybe needs glasses, and another person that has a lot of dental work, and another person that maybe needs a bunch of physio because of something that happened. And so the ability for them to basically be able to use that money, that pot of money, in the different categories, whatever fits them or suits them best, does sound very appealing and much more kind of responsive to the needs of each of the individuals.
Yep, no, 100%.
Yeah.
And then, and the insurance companies have definitely brought out these sort of hybrid plans, as I like to call them. For a while, it was just a standalone. You could only do a standalone health and or a health spending account type of thing. But slowly over the years, the insurers have brought in that to just sort of add to or enhance the traditional insurance plan. Yeah,
which makes sense because like we know, insurance is really important for those big, devastating things, the big ticket items that maybe are going to come up, and so having that as a base kind of coverage there, and then the flexibility with that hybrid model, that sounds really good.
Yeah,
okay, so
you want to still have that protection. Like, what if I get sick? What if I got all of a sudden now I need a bunch of medications? What if I'm traveling abroad and I and something happens to me there? What if I do get my teeth? I take a line drive off of my chiclets while playing slow pitch or whatever. You do want to have something available for those real big, unexpected type of expenses.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, everybody. So if you haven't heard of the hybrid model or these health spending accounts, definitely give Rhett a call and connect with them, because I think this is something that is going to be useful for a lot of small businesses to consider anyway. And so I know, Rhett, you'd be more than happy to work through a few different options, and for people maybe who are exploring those the opportunity that maybe one of these health spending accounts or hybrid model has, right?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So
great plug. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and just to finish with the plug, how would people reach out to you?
I guess Through our website, specializedbenefits.com, info@specializedbenefits.com is our email address, like for general inquiries, I guess.
Yep.
Phone
Sounds good.
number is 780-416-2057.
There we go. Okay, everybody. So one of the things that I want to now quickly pivot into discussing is this recent trip that you've taken. And I know you are a global traveler. You've had the opportunity to be over all through Europe, a lot of different countries there. And like many entrepreneurs, you have the need to be connected with your office back here in Edmonton and the staff, as well as your customers and that. And so I know you're working while you're traveling. And most of the time, you're just tying in a little bit of that, checking the emails and whatnot in the evenings when you're back at the hotel and that. But this most recent trip, you were over in Greece and you extended your stay a bit. And basically, we're working, full hours almost, like 8 hours a day or something close to it, and experimenting with what that might look like in this new reality that we have found ourselves in. With everybody working remotely when they're in the city, working remotely. You were trying it outside of the city. Tell me a little bit about your experience and what your thoughts were on how well that went.
Well, I guess it's funny. Just you hear it all the time about, when you set goals or when you put something down on paper and just how it magically can happen. I want to say a good 2 years ago, I was having just a coffee with a business coach, and we talked about how one of my goals is to be working from a tropical beach 3 to 4 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So this is long before COVID, and where that thought process was coming from is that the insurance industry was moving more and more online in terms of being able to complete applications with e-signatures or e-confirmations, all by email and things of that nature. So along comes COVID, and what I've sort of seen in the market is that now what was really different though is that people still wanted that face-to-face. They still wanted to see the whites of my eyes, and we would still meet over at a coffee shop or a restaurant or at their home or wherever to complete the application process. And then I typically would have to deliver the contract physically as well too, to drop it off to them. So again, the insurance industry was moving more to an online sort of platform, but what's really changed is the mentality of the consumer, where now they are very happy to just, hey, oh, you can do everything over the phone. Oh, we can do a Zoom meeting. I don't have to drive across town, or we can kind of get this done maybe a little bit quicker. It's that appetite has definitely increased. And so that's where the thought process sort of again manifested itself in that, like, well, why, if I can get away with that, or if we can conduct our business pretty much online most of the time, why am I in Edmonton when it's minus 20 degrees outside?
Yeah.
We know how our winters can be a little harsh, even, you'd think after however many years that we've been on this planet that we'd be used to it by now, but or in this environment anyways, but we still don't like it. We're still not used to it. But so that's where the thought process happened. I did extend the stay in Greece just because of the new program that got launched in Calgary to reduce my quarantine. I saw that as it was way more advantageous to pay for a few extra days at the hotel and to change my flight than to be stuck in quarantine for 2 full weeks, instead only be for two ended up being 3 days by the time I got my test results. But regardless, so it did, at the end of the trip, it did give me a few days I kind of worked from, it was probably about 3 o'clock in the afternoon till about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in Greece there. So, I was trying to emulate, if you will, the work hours back here. It was more like a 7 to 2 kind of shift, I guess, or something like that.
Yep.
And usually by about 10, 11 o'clock, the eyes were getting a little heavy and would nod off. But it was kind of fun because, during the day I would get up, go for a walk around Athens and check out a lot of the scenery, have a little lunch, and then come back and kind of get to work in the afternoon. So the time zone was definitely the biggest challenge, was kind of getting around that, but thinking, well, if I'm in the Caribbean, or if I'm in Florida or Phoenix or wherever, where it's a similar time zone, it started making me think, okay, well, once the dust settles with the whole COVID thing, it definitely is easy, or probably could be pretty doable to go away for a month at a time, just in the beginning, to kind of try that out. And instead of grinding it out in Edmonton Monday to Friday, well, I'm in Bermuda or wherever, the Dominican or Cancun or something like that, and just doing an Airbnb while I'm down there or something like that.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because right now, so the time of this recording, it is the third week of November of 2020. And so we are in a bit of an uptick in cases of COVID. The vaccine hasn't been released yet. They're talking about it. And so, like once like you said, the dust kind of settles, where we can do a lot more international traveling a lot easier. I personally think we're not ever going to return back to the way that we were before, where people are going to really need you or want you to be present always here. Like you said, like coming over to their house or doing the coffee shop meetings and so on. I think that there's a retraining that has kind of occurred, in which people are much more comfortable now with doing those video conference calls, sending stuff through the email, and it's more convenient. They found it's more convenient, and they actually are almost, I think, going to be demanding that stays similar in a lot of respect. And so I think it really has liberated us as business people, in a sense, where these meetings, we don't have to be driving across town anymore for it. And so it opens up a lot. And the other thing that's really interesting too is, at this particular point in time, we're seeing some of these islands around the world and different locations really opening up this whole concept of remote working. And so Hawaii, just on the weekend, I was hearing they have opened up their borders to Canadians. And so they're not forcing them to quarantine where they were before. If you came to the island, you had to quarantine for 14 days there, as long as you have a clean test coming in. And I think they're administering a test there as well, probably a rapid test. You can, go about your vacation or your touring around the island and stuff, and they're selling it as a work from Hawaii. So why have your home office in Edmonton? Why not do it in Hawaii? And I know Bermuda's doing that. The Maldives just a few weeks ago did a unlimited vacation kind of package, in which you can come and stay there, and you get all these different perks for a whole year. But you can come and go is the idea.
Unlimited till your bank account runs out, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Some of these places are going to be more expensive than others, for sure. But it's really interesting where there's a bit of a tourism movement afoot in regards to really targeting us small business owners and business professionals and so on, who can be doing their work remotely. They don't have to be physically here in Edmonton or whatever city that they're from. So now, when you're thinking through it, you mentioned time zone was a challenge. And so going with some places that are maybe a little closer in time zone is going to make it a little bit easier, but definitely still doable to be doing it in a place that is, what is Greece, 8 hours ahead of us?
8, 9.
Yeah. So 8 or 9 hours, that does make that shift into the evening work. But you've got all your daytime then in your mornings that you can be touring around and exploring the islands and whatnot over there. So that's kind of cool. But besides time zone shifting, what other risks or what other challenges have you identified as being potential, that you're going to have to overcome in some way or another for this to work?
Well, I don't know if it's a risk, but I guess it's something where I wouldn't. I don't think I could book off for. It's still too early to tell if I could book off for 3 months at a time or something like that, or 6 months.
Yeah.
I think, especially. I mean, obviously, I'm talking kind of post-COVID, post-vaccine, everything is. I don't have to worry about, everything getting locked down or whatever, which did happen 2 days after I got back from Greece, and a number of other European countries had gone into full lockdowns again for a second time. But so again, fast forward a year or more, let's say. But yeah, no, I'm definitely thinking it's like, okay, well, let's try a month, and let's see how that goes. Because I still think, having staff, having clients that are still going to be old school. They're still going to want to see the eyes of my face, and I still want to connect too, because it's just there is that human connection, and yes, a lot of things can be efficiently done through technology, but as high tech as we get, we humans, we still want that high touch. We still want to be able to shake someone's hand and do business. And again, I think those days will come back, and they're still going to want to be that connection. But it'll probably be a hybrid of what we were used to and to how we're going right now. Because again, I think people are still going to want that. So on that note, I think thinking immediately that I could just peace out for 6 months. I don't think my staff, I did check in a couple of times, via Zoom and whatnot, and obviously between email and text and whatnot, we're really quite well connected, and I was able to, if there was anything that needed to be looked after while I was overseas, then yeah, it was certainly doable. But again, when the cat's away, the mice will play. So you don't want to, maybe, like I said, small doses in the beginning, and see how it goes. But I'm definitely not thinking, multiple months at a time. Will it get there? Maybe. Maybe 20 years from now, we'll have like holograms, and we'll be able to just sort of beam ourselves back to Edmonton if we have to get a movie or into a quick meeting or something like that, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, for the time being, I guess I'm not unleashing, every hope and dream. I'm kind of thinking, well, let's experiment a little bit here, and definitely this past trip was an opportunity to experiment a little bit with that idea.
Yeah, one of the things, because I've been thinking about this as well, because the way that I structured my business at the outset was that I could do everything remotely, because I wanted to have that flexibility, because I also really like to travel. And unfortunately, I just haven't had the opportunity to really explore very extended periods of time. I did a trip right before COVID, actually, where I was in the Dominican Republic for 3 weeks. And so some of that was, completely disconnected holiday time. And then a good week of that, or a little more, was working at least 4 to 6 hours each day. And, like you said, with the time change and so on, just trying to touch base with everybody during those periods in which everything's happening over here in Edmonton. And it worked pretty good. Now, one of the things that I've always been kind of a little fearful of, though, is on the business development side. So pre-COVID, it was really tough to be doing any networking or anything like that. outside of the face-to-face meetings. And so the different associations, B&I groups, the business associations, the meet and greets that be happening, and some of those more social / business development activities that the chamber puts on, and so on. Those were all very important, I felt anyway, in making those connections. And then also rapid personal development or personal relationship, where you meet somebody, you go out then for a coffee with them within the next week or whatever. You learn more about their business, more about their challenges, and so on, and you build that personal relationship a lot quicker. Now, since COVID, though, I've been in a number of different types of online networking activities, and where they break you out into separate rooms, and it's actually become, in some ways, even more effective than some of those larger, like, chamber type events where you're mixing and milling with 200 other people. This way you actually have some intentional interactions with a very small group in these breakout online video groups or video rooms, I guess. But I don't know if those will stick around, actually. Because I know there's a huge amount of desire, pent up desire, to just go out and actually be physically in the same room as somebody. What are your thoughts on business development from afar? If you are able to extend it into, say, a 3-month stay someplace else, any thoughts on how you would tackle the business development side of things?
Well, yeah, and that, you're 100%, and that's another reason, I guess, why I'm hesitant to start thinking of extend, like 2, 3, 4 months at a time kind of time periods that I'm outside of Edmonton. I think because again, going back to that high tech, high touch sort of point, I also thought while you were going through that, to put the question out there, I mean, here, let's look at all the online dating apps and sites and whatnot that have been around now for a really long time. And it connects people, but still at the end of the day, they still want to go and meet for coffee or go for dinner or do something face to face, physically, in the same space, like you say. So again, and business can be done in the same capacity where it's like, okay, yeah, I met you and things like that. But I think there is a little bit more trust established once you are belly to belly with someone. And yeah, I do agree that as effective as Zoom and other sort of online meeting contraptions, what technology,
tools.
tech tools, thank you.
Yeah.
As those have come along, it's been very effective in keeping us connected. But at the end of the day, there still is going to be, people are still going to want to go and meet over a lunch or go and have a beer and, like you say, build that relationship, get to know each other a little bit better. Okay, is there a working environment here for you and I? So yeah, I still think that that's going to exist, and certainly this goes back to where my thought process would be, is that I still do want to be back in Edmonton from time to time, especially our summers. I mean, we got great summers here. We got lots of festivals. There's generally a lot to do, and I usually stick around Edmonton for most summers anyways. But also too, it's a great time to connect with clients and go to those business social events where you can meet other like-minded businesses, or maybe we're hanging out and there's someone that I know that you don't, and there's an opportunity for a connection to be made there. You're not going to see that in a Zoom meeting, typically, those random situations where you happen to be out and about somewhere and you bump into someone, and next thing you know, it leads to some other conversations or business or whatever. So we still need that I think, to develop our businesses. As much as we like to just rely on referrals and repeats, there's still, the new business still needs to kind of be established and to help grow the business. So I still think, we need to have those chamber events. Or, look, right, the week before the great pause, we were at a chamber event there over at the Jubilee, right? So, and that was great. Chance to connect with a few people and whatnot. And I think we still need to do that, regardless of how advanced our technology gets.
Yeah. Yeah. So one last question for you, and then I'll let you go. And that is around one of the things that has kind of held me back as well, or one of my concerns is healthcare in some of these other countries, right? So, we have a beautiful healthcare system here in Edmonton in Canada, and the rest of the world is maybe not as close to what we are, especially when you talk about some of these different islands, Caribbean islands and so on. And you're in the benefits world, you probably bump into some really interesting stories with some of your clients who've had experiences abroad and stuff. Is that something that is concerning to you? Is that something that, is there a way to mitigate some of that risk, I suppose? Any thoughts there at all?
Well, certainly my experience in Greece made me say, well, and also in reading a lot of what Europe has been doing in terms of testing and treatments, well, not necessarily treatments, but more just the testing of COVID. For months now, you get off the plane, because this was leading up to Greece. This is one of the reasons why we chose Greece to go. You got off the plane within 5 minutes. I had a swab going down my throat. Yeah. And they said, we'll let you know in 4 hours if you've got a quarantine for an extended period of time. So they were much more advanced than Canada. We finally just came out with a reduced quarantine opportunity here. So Canada's good. Our healthcare system is good, but it definitely can be better when you look at some of our friends over in Europe. In Frankfurt, I was reading for €100, you can get the test right in Frankfurt Airport and have the results back again within 4 to 6 hours. So there's, I don't know why our health people are not saying, hey, what are you guys doing?
How are you guys doing that? Yeah.
But it is what it is. Yeah. So on that note, obviously travel insurance is paramount. Some carriers have now come out with specific travel insurance products for COVID. So if you get diagnosed with COVID and you need to have some hospital bills related to that while you are outside of Canada, there are products now available, interestingly enough. But yeah, you just gotta do your homework, and if you are concerned, make sure that you do have protection. I've had a appendectomy in Slovakia, of all places, and it's certainly not something that you expect. But for the $40 or whatever it was for my travel insurance, it was well worth it, because it was about a €3,000 touch, which probably translated to about five grand.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'm a walking poster child for that, and I have had some clients who, their kid got an ear infection in Hawaii, and it was 20 minutes in the waiting room and 5 minutes in front of the doctor and a prescription and $1,500 bill. Yeah. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit. Regardless, though, it was for the $100 that they spent for travel insurance for their family for the week that they were in Hawaii. It was quite well worth it. So yeah. It's we don't know the future, so travel insurance is pretty cheap protection. So you don't have to worry about the state of the healthcare. I've again, going back to Slovakia, some of the nurses had told me, they said, oh, some people, they kind of pick and choose, how many antibiotics there, how many doses of medicine that they're going to get because they only can afford so much. I knew with my insurance, I didn't have to worry. I'm like, yeah, just keep giving it to me. Whatever you think is the right amount. I don't have to worry about my wallet on this situation. Just get me better so I can get out of here as fast as possible.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Rhett. I appreciate you sharing a little bit of some of the trends that are happening in the benefit world, insurance world. And I also really appreciate your thoughts and sharing some of your experiences with the traveling, because I know that there's a lot of businesses, a lot of small business owners and operators who are looking at this winter going, geez, if those borders do open up, maybe it's time to skedaddle a little bit, because now we have some opportunity since people have shifted into that digital world a little bit more. So thank you for sharing those thoughts. Really appreciate it. And again, for anybody who's interested in reaching out to you, Rhett, they can, the best way probably is info@specializedbenefits.com, correct?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds great. Thanks everybody.
Or just call Lance.
Oh, sorry, what's that?
Or just call you,
Or just call me. That's right. I'll definitely put you through. Yeah, we'll every referral that I send to Rhett, he'll buy me a beer. So that's something that send your requests to me, please. Okay, so thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, if you are enjoying these episodes, head over to amplomedia.com/amplify. That is where we have all of our archived episodes, and all the future ones will be there as well. And if you know somebody else who you think that we should be interviewing, there is a form at that address as well that allows you to just enter in their information. We'll reach out to them, or if you yourself want to do it, just enter in your own information and we'll reach out to you and schedule a call. So thanks everybody. Stay safe and have a great week.